Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be working on the Jeep again over here. It's my 98 Jeep Cherokee. It's been off the road for most of the summer. I've been doing a lot of services to it and like stuff off camera. So finally got ready to put it back on the road, and I'm in the middle of the oil change and no start. Dies on me. What the heck? That's weird. No engine lights, nothing to follow up. It ran fine before. Went on the road test with it, all that, no problem. Brought it back in the garage here, and it died. So let's dig into it. I eventually got it to fire. I did start with an engine light now. So this is apparently a common problem for a lot of 4 liters. Let's say 97 to 01 Cherokees, TJs, whatever. So some of the symptoms of this random no start slash eventually getting it to fire was sporadic temperature gauge movements. I did catch my temperature gauge, which was almost at operating temperature, did all of a sudden drop to 0, which obviously was a concern of mine, and did eventually help me lead into figuring out what the exact problem was. So let's head over to the scanner now and see what codes we're able to. So there you have it. It is, one second here, let it focus, P0118, engine coolant temperature sensor 1, circuit high. Now, when I did eventually get it to fire after just flooding the engine, what happened was I was in the cockpit here and I noticed the temperature gauge here, which was nearly at operating temperature because I was letting it run to get the oil nice and hot to drain, all of a sudden shot back down to empty. So that's weird. There was no symptoms of any coolant leaks, any sort of overheating or anything like that. So oh yeah, that's weird. So I eventually jumped into the engine bay and realized, oh wait a minute, I don't think this thing, the temperature gauge is reading accurately. So we're back under the hood here. Here is your coolant temperature sensor. Now I did replace this back in 2018 again because it wasn't reading correctly. I didn't have these symptoms, of course, but at this point this is what we're going to go ahead and replace. This sends a reading directly to the PCM, and the PCM adjusts their fuel ratio depending on what this reading is. So what I think the computer thought was this wasn't reading correctly, so it sent it into a sporadic rich mixture. That's what got me to fire up, and it ran really rough, but eventually did die out thinking that the truck was overheating when it actually wasn't. So I got a new one of these. Let's go ahead and swap it out. Here's the one I went with, just a generic CarQuest coolant temperature sensor. I don't know who makes it, but that's the part number if you need it for reference. Here's the new one. It's made of brass. How I believe it works is as a hot coolant flows through, this tip here obviously gets hot or cold and sends a signal up to the computer, hey, it's at 40 degrees, 80 degrees, 100 degrees, and adjust the air fuel ratio based off of those readings. So we're going to see what the one I have looks like. I'm assuming the tip here is going to be all corroded and dirty. I have my shop assistant here, Zoe. She's assisting with pretty much every job I do. Her role is simply be pretty, give orders, and be on guard. Any intruders. Say hi, Zoe. Say hi. There you go. You're so cute. So there's a few different ways you can attack the removal of this. They make like connector sockets similar to like an oxygen sensor socket where it's slightly longer and has a cutout so it can clear the connector. But if you just unplug it, a 19mm will fit around the brass fitting. As long as it's a long one, should clear the connector as well. Make sure you put a catch pan down at the bottom there so it can catch any coolant that falls. As you can see, between the old and new one, the tip is a lot more dirty and corroded. Definitely has at least like 100,000 kilometers on it, if I had to guess. So I did do it back in 2018, so it served its time. It's time to install the new one. As you can see, it has some pre-done Teflon tape on the threads already. I'm not gonna put any extra, should be enough. Now for tightening this, you don't want to go too hard with it because you are tightening brass to the aluminum thermostat housing. So similar to a drain plug, safest bet is, I don't know the torque spec, but off the top of my head, but bottom it out plus quarter turn. And if possible, if you got a little OCD like me, make sure the connector is straight so it doesn't look like an eyesore. Something like that should be just fine. Go ahead and plug it in. Make sure you hear that click. She ain't going nowhere. Here's a close-up of the new sensor installed. Looks good. Not too much coolant spilled out. I'm just gonna top up the reservoir over there. It was just slightly under the cold max. And we'll go ahead and start bleeding. So before we start the bleeding, we're going to go ahead and clear the code before we start the truck. All codes clear, nothing pending, nothing confirmed. Let's go ahead and start the truck now. She's fired up pretty good so far. Just got to wait and see that temperature gauge. I'm going to turn the heat on. We didn't lose a lot of coolant, but we did open up the system. So it's definitely recommended that you do bleed. Let's check back in a minute or two once we get the temperature up. So here's an update. We got the truck running. I have to top up just a little bit in there. I recommend if you're ever doing coolant work, one of these non-spill bleeder kits, it's amazing. Our sensor, no leaks, nothing like that. The thermostat's open, it's nice and hot. I got good airflow in the cab. Heat's nice and strong in here, which confirms the cycle has reached the heater core and back to the radiator. So that just about wraps up this job here. So that wraps up today's video, guys. P0118 for the 9701 Jeep Cherokee 4-liter. Now this problem could obviously be for TJs and whatnot as well. The process would be similar, you know, just if you're getting any sporadic idling or spontaneous shutdown and you scan your truck and it happens to have P0118, well, coolant temperature sensor, good place to start. Now I got lucky in this case, being that it was just a sensor. Quick and easy job, it was accessible and everything, but I have read in some extreme cases that if the sensor is left to a certain point or you haven't gotten to it, whatever, it has brought up crank sensor codes. So before escalating to checking your crank sensor or anything like that, start with the coolant temperature sensor. We saw how mine was. It had the corrosion and everything on it, had about 100,000 kilometers on it, or who knows how much. Either way, we got lucky. Easy, accessible, the code's cleared, I have good heat, everything like that. So I hope your situation is similar to mine. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe for more videos. And if there's something you've seen that you would have did differently in this process, please let me know. I love hearing the feedback, whether it's good or bad, anything to improve my work ethic or learn something new, right? Maybe there's something that I could have did to save some time, right? Or prevented this altogether, but either way. Thanks for watching. Please check back soon for more videos. Thanks.